Thank you both for taking the time to talk to me. I got through this season very quickly. I think it helped because of all the beautiful men, but uh, you know, that's a perk of American Horror Story and Ryan Murphy shows. So thank you.
That season in particular.
Yeah, yeah, it was a sort of like I always say I'm notoriously gay, but I was this season is gay. So I was very happy.
I think during one concept meeting, Ryan said this might be the gayest thing he's ever done, but then he corrected himself, and I think he cited Pose, but so it was clearly up there.
Yeah, okay. At least we're under consideration. That's great. Um, I guess I have a seemingly silly question to ask first, but I legitimately want to know. Um, the season, for the most part, takes place in the summer. I wanted to know if it's harder than we think to make people sweaty.
Oh God, yeah. That was the bane of mine and Milagros's existence because it was never enough because no matter what we were putting on them, it just wasn't reading as dripping. So we were just chasing them down for the first few weeks, especially while it was still semi-cool, until it was hot enough for them to, kind of self-generate. Yeah, that was a massive pain in the ass.
What do you what do you do for this? Is it just water? Like,
No, we had all sorts of
No,
tricks
it's
up
a
our sleeves.
combination. Yeah, we did. It was also hard because we had to be careful with costumes because a lot of the costumes were rented. So we couldn't use anything that was oil based because it would stain, and that was a done deal. So I came up with a system of. At first, we were trying the baby oil gel, and then we realized nope, can't do that because of costumes. And then I started using Abilene, which is a water-based soluble kind of like makeup remover, and it's sheer. It looks like an oily sheen to it, but it rinses out. So I was able to use that along hairlines and skin, and then actually spray water on top of that, which would then bead up. It would hold a little bit of the water.
We also had the love shines,
but chasing it, right? No, go ahead. You were right.
Which is a sealing spray shine, designed to just be kind of a shiny gloss surface that dries. That worked especially well on darker skin. So a few layers of that, and then the Abilene, and then the water. It was just a buildup of a lot of materials.
Yeah, because I kept noticing it on like Isaac's arms, like whenever he would be like walking away or something like that. I was like, how? I kept coming back to that. I was like, that's gonna sound like such a silly question. I legitimately know.
We're glad it was noticed because that was a lot of hard work.
Yeah, it made me both want to and not want to go to Fire Island because I was like, oh, that's sweaty. So yeah, okay. Um, I sort of don't know where to start in terms of I guess bloodiness, I guess we could say. I think the one that I most want to ask about is I saw somebody refer to the Sentinel lovingly in a recap as Frankenstein Jesus, which I thought was really wonderful.
I mean, they definitely posed him that way. That was a very intentional decision.
Yeah. And then I was looking online at some of the pictures of, all the prosthetics and things, and I guess I wanted to know because that comes at such a big focal point in this season, I guess, like, what is the inspiration for it? How long was that guy in makeup? I was like trying to find as many pictures as I could of that, and it really grossed me out. So thank you.
That was a tough one. We got wind of it early. I think Ryan mentioned it in passing in an episode 2 or 3 concept meeting because we didn't have our scripts very far in advance last season. So I immediately went into red flag. Oh God, what's he talking about mode? And We dug to see what info we could get. We got the base of that storyline, so I was able to start designing ideas and running them up the chain, so that we had as much of a lead time as possible, which, you know, on television is still always going to be a little bit slight, but, you know, as best as we could get. We found an amazing 7-foot tall performer who, you know, that was half the battle right there. Came in for a big old life cast, and at that point, I think we had 2 weeks to turn around the whole look. Excuse me.
2 weeks. Oh my gosh.
With my first COVID bout in the midst of that, so had to, of course. I mean, it actually wound up being a help because I had to quarantine, but I was asymptomatic, so we would just work the shop in shifts. I would go in at night, my guys would go in during the day, so we almost had it going 24 hours a day around the clock, which not something I'd recommend for long, but we pulled it off for a week and hit the deadline. Make application on the day, started at about 4 hours, and I think we got it down to 2.5 by the last time we did them. We did them like 5 or 6 times in total.
Oh, that image I feel like has kind of haunted me, of him just hanging there. The way it's like lit and everything. It just
that was one of my favorite visuals. I remember bouncing around in that set. It was a creepy, gross, well decorated set, and you know, we were kind of cynical about the beat at first, and then like seeing it on the monitors and even taking pictures, I was like, all right, this looks pretty effing great.
Yeah.
Gosh, like even the I like how we don't see his. It's sort of like the great thing about horror, where it's like you don't get to see everything right away until you're really up close to it. It grossed me out even more. So, okay. Milagros, I did want to ask about again, I feel like I have to preface myself sounding like I have silly questions, but I am a huge fan of Patti LuPone, and I feel like her singing "Fever" in a gay bathhouse is like a fever dream for me. And then I was really excited to see Jonathan Hoover as you know, her swing, and I guess I wanted to know from you, from a performer who considers herself of a certain stature, what maybe makeup wise did you want to how did you want to compliment the two of them?
Well, Patty has her own look, and so we didn't go too far off.
Okay.
You know, keeping her, you know, she wanted to stay glamorous, of course, and keep that glamour on for that performance piece. And then our swing, I mean, we just kind of kept him in the same vein. I mean, he was fabulous. And what was so great was just when he came in to meet her in the trailer, you know, it was just wonderful. But they were just, I mean, she just wanted to stay glamorous, and, you know, we just tried to keep her in her, you know, just a little bit more of a little cabaret feel of a makeup. I mean, the costumes kind of did most of the work, if not, you know, a huge portion of it. So it was just kind of having her feel somewhat like herself still. And, so.
I guess that is like if you're a singer or a performer who idolizes anything remotely Broadway related, to be able to be like, who are you playing this season? Oh, I'm playing Patti LuPone's other person. I feel like that was like the campiest thing I've seen all year, which I love.
Well, you know, we got him off of Instagram, or was it TikTok? Where did we?
I think it was Instagram.
So, I mean, yeah. I mean,
because I still see him.
Found him,
and he still interacts.
Doing his Patty's.
Yeah. I saw Tanase post something, you know, for your consideration the other day, and he was still all jazzed up about this.
I saw him do I think it was on Instagram, Patti LuPone's screen test for The Little Mermaid. I was just like, hey, take it, run with it for the end of time. That's fine with me. not to like sort of jump to the end of a lot of the season, in episodes like 8, 9, and 10, when we sort of realize what a lot of the material of the season is positioning towards. I think it's really important to show the struggle of HIV and AIDS in the 80s. I think we need to keep bringing that, and I'm glad Ryan Murphy is continually bringing that in a lot of his work, because I think it's important to remember. I guess not just in a general sense, I just wanted to know, maybe how did you want to differentiate everyone's like sickness journey, or that's horribly phrased, but I just there's a shot of Russell Tovey. I think it's when he has the vision and like there's a ton of light on his face. I guess I just wanted to know from you, what is important about that kind of I don't say makeup styling, but just time period and things like that.
I'm not sure I follow what you're asking.
In terms of like I guess when I say, you know, sickness journey, I guess I just mean like, do you change like lesions on the body,
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
stuff like that, just to sort of to calibrate the journey of sickness, I guess, and how that might be different from person to person.
Yeah, he and Joe were the only two that we really tracked a prolonged illness with.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe much more so, because he survives for such a substantial amount of time that we track. With Russell, I mean, it was really just, we wanted initially to change his look pretty dramatically just to show the time jump.
Mm-hmm.
But for, logistical television reasons, we couldn't do, he wanted to shave his head, I think, at one point, definitely
Mm-hmm.
wanted to take off the mustache. So we wound up having to kind of work around some of those limitations.
Okay.
But we kind of come into Russell at the end of his journey. Like we see the hint of it through the bulk of the season, but by the time we meet up with him in the last 2 episodes, he's there. So we don't really see much of a transition with him, just him in his final stages. We do a little back and forth with his eyes in and out of the vision, where he was wearing. Yeah. But yeah, Russell stayed mostly the same once we got him there. Joe, on the other hand, he, we tracked, I think, 6 different looks with him, and some days we shot all versions, and he did not want to be in the chair very long. So just like, what's the most minimal thing we can do to help sell this as quickly as possible? And he did, a lot of that was just by his performance, which was fantastic. But little things like, okay, let's add a lesion on the nose, something prominent right there, front and center, things like that.
Yeah, I was actually wondering, I was like, I kept getting very hopeful with his character towards the end, and then I was just I don't know, maybe just because Joe Mantello, another iconic Broadway performer, he was in the original production of Angels in America. So it was like this weird subconscious thing that I had in my head, that every time I saw it flash forward and maybe the makeup would change and I would see something different on his face, I was just like, no, please.
But I mean, I think his story still was very hopeful, because like they did. I think we progressed him 15 to 20 years or something between Russell's getting to Russell's illness was 10 years, and then we take Joe another 10 to 15. So I mean, I really think that was very hopeful, because at that point in time, like, treatment was such a so he was, I mean, I hate to say it, but a best case scenario. Like his ability to survive for that long through the era his character was meant to survive through, I think that was a pretty hopeful message.
Yeah. I sort of don't want to ask this, but I have to. That decomposing body on the bed, I guess maybe Hans, yes. I think the phrase "the heat doesn't help" really stuck out to me, and I just wanted to get out of that room as fast as I possibly could. That's another incident where I was looking at pictures and going back to those scenes and just like getting really, I just kept thinking of him, like the weight of his body sinking into the bed. So That really grossed me out. Thank you very much for that.
That one was foul, and it was legitimately 90+ degrees in this tiny little, very authentic, rundown New York apartment. That was not a set. That was a rather dilapidated apartment we were shooting in.
Really? Oh my
Oh,
gosh. Oh, the whiteness of his face when they get really close up on his face. I remember I was like, I just had like a really vocal.
So they wanted him to have died still in his performance makeup, which was a great touch. So we did his regular makeup, but then we put the character makeup over the prosthetic makeup. I was a big fan of that one. And Jen Lynch directed that one, and she was like, whatever, like all the gross beats, she's just giddy over. So
was that like since you're doing prosthetics over makeup like that, was that a long process to get that gentleman into that decomposing state?
Yeah, I think that was about 3.5 hours with three of us working just head to toe, because he was in his boxer, in his underwear, so it was a full body makeup like the Sentinel. Yeah. Just the entire thing had to be covered, and he had so many very specific scientific notes that we need to see this, we need to see this, we need to see this, because that was the part of the puzzle. They didn't know what it was because there was so much going on him, up to and including the cat starting to take little nibbles and scratches. And
I looked at my cat sideways when I heard that one. I don't get any idea. I just wanted to say a couple of things that I also really love on this season. The burn work on Dunaway in episode 3. It's very quick. It's very effective.
That was one of my personal favorites of the season.
Yeah, that was really, that whole thing. I'm really big into like queer history and everything like that. So the nods to the actions of that scene reminded me of like the upstairs lounge. I was really, I want to say drawn into, but the woman on the subway where she just kept saying, "I told you."
She was scary. She was great.
I remember having an experience when I was like 10 or 11, one of the first times I was ever in New York with my brother who lived there and my dad. And I remember seeing a woman who was just talking to herself. She did not look, like she was in the best state. And every time that the woman on the subway popped up, I had this like sense memory of that. So it really eked me out. I guess just one last question before I let you folks go is, I just want to know if there is something on this season of American Horror Story that maybe, I want to say we don't know about, but something that you are proud of that is in there that I want to say like fools people, but I guess like fools people. Like I spoke to somebody who did like, the Eyes of Tammy Faye makeup, and they said they had like a string like here on her nose to make her nose turn a little bit upwards. And I didn't, obviously you can't clock that because you don't see it, but is there something like that on the show that really enhances character that is a little bit invisible that we just don't notice?
It's hard to say. This is such a very different season. I mean, this is only our second season, but just from everything I've seen, this is such a very different flavor for the show this year. I mean, I would say, yeah, coming up in the second half, there are some things that might qualify with that, and we're just gearing up to get started on that stuff now.
Okay, so you're gonna fool us a little bit. That's cool.
Maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit. All right. I think that might.
I signed an NDA.
Okay, well then I'm gonna be watching a lot more closely now. That's what I'm just gonna. That might be a little dangerous with a show like American Horror Story, and stuff like that. All these crazy, creepy characters. I love what you guys do so hair too, with what the hair department does and the way, I don't know. There's something about his face that I actually didn't even recognize him for some reason on this season.
I'm sorry, who?
Dennis O'Hare.
Oh, Dennis had an amazing wig on.
Yeah,
amazing wig, but there's something about like his face. I don't know what it is. It was just like
he's very transformative in all his characters this season. Again, he doesn't look anything like.
No.
We added sideburns to him. for that. We lightened up his brows. We gave him a little bit of color to his skin, just to do these slight changes.
And then he lives with his missing ear for the last 3 or 4 episodes.
That poor guy, he goes through it.
But such a trip, and
yeah.
so much fun in the makeup chair. Just some of the best stories I've ever heard in 20 years of doing this.
Thank God. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk to me. I have to scurry to my next interview, unfortunately.
No problem. Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the time, and thanks for the super gay season.
Yeah, we'll do this again next season.
Yeah. All right. Have a good day, guys.